Rising Aries is ruled by the planet Mars, and Mars is the planet of war, the planet of aggression, of assertion, and of will, of strength. That ends up being your ruler, Rising Aries. So that's your little avatar in your chart. So I like to call the Ascendant your little spacesuit. The spacesuit is not just a mask. People like to call it the mask, but really the Ascendant is much deeper than that. It is really the vehicle that transports you through life and protects you from the environment. And whatever it is that your Ascendant is, that is the type of vehicle, the type of spacesuit that you're wearing. And it is crafted for the environment that you were growing up in, the environment that you were in. And because of that, that essentially becomes the environment for the rest of your life, essentially. You believe that your environment is a certain way because of the way that your environment was when you were a kid. So for Aries rising, the environment is dangerous. The environment is aggressive. So they need to be strong and they need to be sturdy in order to defend themselves from the world, essentially. And your little spacesuit essentially was created for you by all the people that were around you when you were growing up in your formative years. So all those people, I like to think of them as kind of patching on little pieces of your personality that were going to help you survive in your new environment. So this spacesuit was especially created for the new environment that you were going to grow up in. And this new environment is your life, your new life here on Earth. So as you were growing up, you were getting these messages like, hey, you're gonna need to be assertive, you're gonna need to speak up, you're gonna need this, you're gonna need that. And those were the messages that you were receiving. And because of that, because you needed to have all of these characteristics in your first house, you had to leave something behind in the 12th house. And this becomes interesting if you have planets in the 12th house. So it's just like, why would I leave my moon in the 12th house? Why would I leave my sun in the 12th house? I'm going to be making a video later on about planets in the 12th house, but for now, we're just going to talk about the rising Aries ascending. So what you left behind in the 12th house essentially is Pisces. So you got the message that this Pisces stuff is not gonna fly in this life. It's not gonna work out. So that's the message that you got in your environment when you were growing up. So because of that, you left all of these Pisces characteristics in the 12th house. So let's see, what did you leave behind in the 12th house? So you left behind the gentleness of Pisces and you traded it for the aggression of Aries. So you kind of got the message that this soft stuff with Pisces is lovey-dovey. It's not gonna work in this environment. For whatever reason, your siblings or your parents, wherever it was that you were growing up, you got the message that being soft and being sweet and being kind and loving like Pisces, it was not going to work out for you. You needed to have something stronger to defend you, essentially. And you needed to leave behind the passiveness of Pisces and you traded it for the forwardness of Aries. Whereas Pisces, the way that they go and get what they want is very passive. They kind of just wait for things to happen, for things to feel right, for inspiration to hit them. Aries is just like, nope, when I want something, I need to go get it myself. I need to get it done. This passive show with Pisces is not gonna work out. I need to get it done myself. And that is essentially why you have Aries in the first house. That's the message that you received. You also left behind the selflessness of Pisces and you traded it for the selfishness of Aries. And I will say that I see selfishness as a positive trait. I do have Mars in Aries myself, so that might be why I'm biased. But yeah, whereas Pisces is just like, no man, peace and love, we're all one. Aries is just like, no, I need to get done what I think is correct, what I think is right. I see through the bullshit and I'm gonna go do what I need to get done. And that is really the energy that Aries leads with, is the me energy and really getting their missions accomplished. Really think about Aries rising as a person on a mission, and they are accomplishing the mission that they feel that they're supposed to complete, like a soldier essentially. So when you're in your room and you're comfortable, you're kind of acting like your moon sign, maybe like your 4th house, you're icy, you're comfortable, you're eating chips, you're watching TV. So what happens when somebody walks in? You put on your little spacesuit to protect you. What changes? What changes when someone walks into the room, Aries rising? For Aries rising, nothing much really changes because Aries is a sign of independence and they are independent of other people, whereas maybe a Libra or a Pisces or a Cancer would take in the energy of the other person and try to model themselves in order to make the other person comfortable, Aries rising is really like, they're doing their own thing. So the only time that they'll adjust their energy is if you're being aggressive to them, and they will immediately put a stop to that, or they'll immediately fight back. But other than that, they're gonna keep doing their own thing because they're independent and they don't really care what anybody else is doing. Another reason that rising Aries will kind of put on their spacesuit and their little suit of armor. This one should be not a spacesuit. It should be like armor. So it's if somebody weaker than them, somebody who they deem is as weaker or maybe younger or smaller in any sort of way, somebody that they feel needs protection, they will be there to defend them. They are the defenders of people. They are the warriors. They are really the warrior archetype, like incarnate essentially, because the first house is your physical appearance, your personality. So they incarnate the warrior archetype, and this becomes really funny if you're like 4'9", but my best friend is a rising Aries and she's 4'9". So your ascendant, your little spacesuit has, it has a little helmet, and that helmet has a lens, and that lens is the way that you see the world, filtered through this lens, through that filter. That's how you see the world. And the world looks back at you from the 7th house, and you see the world out from the 1st house. So what is the world like when you have that filter? So for you, Aries rising, the world is a battlefield, and you have to be ready at all time to fight, because people are out here being disrespectful, they're being rude, they're being mean, and you are not going to put up with that. You don't take disrespect from anybody, and you don't allow others to be disrespected in your presence, because you make it your job to fix that situation. Just hands down, that's just how it is. So the way that the world looks back at you from the 7th house, how they see you from the 7th house, is modified by that filter. Okay, so you have that filter and people see you through that filter. So how do you look? That becomes your social personality. Those are the traits that people associate with you, that they easily can identify you by. So how do you look from that 7th house? So if you're a rising Aries from the 7th house, people see you as a badass. You just seem like a badass type of person because you don't put up with anybody's bullshit, and you are always standing up for what you believe in, and you believe in a few things, and you are going to stand up for those things vociferously and not let others trample you. That is basically the way that you're seen. You are seen as the most honest person, brutally honest and direct. People see you as brutally honest because you cannot tell a lie, and it's not because you're like so virtuous, like, oh no, lying is bad. No, it's just you cannot. You're like allergic to it. You cannot say something that isn't true. If somebody asks you your opinion, or sometimes if nobody asks you, you're going to say it, and you're going to say it. You're probably going to curse. You're going to say how you really feel, and that is just the bottom line with rising Aries people. They tell people exactly what they think, and they don't care what your rank is. They don't care if it's the boss, they don't care if it's your grandma, they don't care if it's their mother-in-law. They're gonna say the truth, how they really feel. And sin pelos en la lengua, that's how they say it in Spanish. Is there an expression for it? I don't know. Rising Aries can't just get along, whereas a Libra rising can just fit in anywhere and just get along and be diplomatic and be kind to others. Aries rising can't just get along. They absolutely cannot. And it's not that they're jerks, it's not that they're mean. It's like whenever something isn't right to them, it's like something irritates them. It's like, imagine hot peppers in your underwear. Like imagine having hot peppers in your underwear. You're gonna say something, and that is how rising Aries interacts with the world. So if there's something that is bugging them, it's like really bugging them, and they have to say something about it. They have to say something about it. They have to do something about it. If they disagree with you, they're going to tell you, and they're not gonna be quiet about it. That's just how it is. They also are seen as a loudmouth because of what I just said. They have to speak their mind, and they have to often do it very loudly. They also can be seen as maybe rude, but the positive of that is that they're very assertive. It depends also where their Mars is, but essentially they're going to be very direct. They're also maybe seen as impulsive because Mars is a very quick planet. The way that they do things, because your ascendant is the way that you do things. And when you have a rising Aries, you're gonna do things very quickly. If something comes upon you and you're just like, I want to do this. I want to go get a hamburger. You're going to go. Or, oh, I feel like I should get into like fencing. Well, you're going to buy all the equipment and get into fencing. You're going to do it tomorrow. You're going to go do it this afternoon. You want things done fast. To you, the world is slow and you are fast and you just want to get things done, the things that pop into your head. You could also be seen as forceful or aggressive. And again, that assertion, it could go from being like assertive to being aggressive. You can be a bit aggressive, and this becomes an issue. This is one of those things, if you're a woman and you're rising Aries, you could be labeled as a bitch because people are not comfortable with women being so assertive. And this is just true. I'm not even saying this in like a feminist sort of way. This is just, people are not comfortable with women being that assertive. And because women are supposed to be polite and Libra and Cancer and soft and meek, and rising Aries people are not like that. They're very direct and it makes people uncomfortable. It's just impolite in like in polite society, in polite company, no one talks like that. Nobody just says what's on their mind. Nobody says exactly what they want, but rising Aries does. Rising Aries can't just go along with whatever everybody else is saying. They can't just go along with the status quo just to make sure everyone's comfortable. They don't give a shit if everyone's comfortable. They don't care. They don't care if people are uncomfortable. And they're not trying to make you uncomfortable. It's not like a Uranus thing. They're not trying to shock your system. They're just saying what they actually think and what they want. And they're just being direct about it. And I just want to make a disclaimer because I have noticed that there seems to be like, I hate stereotypes. I really hate like stereotypes in astrology, and they grind my gears, and people who make those videos like, worst sign, the 12th to the 1st, worst signs. Like, it's so annoying to me because it just shows that you have no understanding of astrology and you're just using stereotypes. And stereotypes are easy, and if that's the way that you make your living, I guess I'll support it, but I don't have to like it. The disclaimer that I'll say is it's not that Aries people are assholes or that they're bitches. It's not at all. Aries energy is very pure. It's the energy of like a little baby. And the reason why they act up or speak out or act rudely or brashly is because something is bothering them. They can't just keep it to themselves. They have to say something. Kind of like a baby. Like if a baby is like sitting there and super happy and somebody takes their toy away, they're gonna cry like immediately. That is Aries. So it's not like somebody's gonna take their toy, but if something is bothering them, they feel that they just have to say it. They don't see a reason why to keep it to themselves. Like there is no reason for it. Just say what you want and you're gonna get what you want. Whereas somebody would be like, well, is that polite? Is that, no, Aries is quick. It's like a baby. Like if you like pinch a baby, the baby's gonna cry immediately. Like they're not gonna be like, well, you know, is it too, we're at church, should I really cry right now? No, they don't care. They're going to react, and they can be a little bit reactive. It depends also where their Mars is, but Aries energy is very pure. It's not coming from a dark place. It's not coming from a mean place. It is extremely pure. Lastly, the ascendant is modified by any planets that are found in your first house. So if this doesn't resonate exactly with you, make sure that you look at any planets in the first house and realize that maybe your Mars isn't in such an aggressive sign. Maybe you have Mars in Libra, which is a possibility. So now let's talk about the Descendant. So the Descendant is your 7th house. And your 7th house is essentially where you put all those behaviors and characteristics that you label as not me. The first house is me. It's I am assertive, I am strong, I am powerful, me, Aries rising. And the 7th house is the things that you just don't like. It's just like, oh, people who just get along, people who just go with the flow, who won't stand up for themselves, people who are so nice. That's the 7th house. I had an Aries rising friend that I used to, it's funny because I'm a Libra midheaven. So I always was like, I just want people to think of me as a nice person, that I'm nice. And I'm pretty sure she's the one who told me this. And she was like, did you know that the word nice comes from the word necio, which means stupid? And I speak Spanish, and I think she probably told me like the Latin or something because she's like a language person. And I was just like, and I looked into it and I was like, wow, it is like nice is associated with stupid. And I was just like shocked. But also I was like shocked in Libra because I was just like, there's no way I'm gonna stop being nice because that's just how I am. So all the nice things, all the Libra things are left in your 7th house. So really, it's in relationships that you allow yourself to experience these Libra things. And it's in relationships that you allow yourself to be kind of like a Libra, to be nice, to get along. It's in relationships that you're able to explore that. So in relationships, you need qualities that are Libra-like. So let's see, what is it that you need with a Libra descendant? Okay, so since you're always like out in the world fighting with anybody who needs to get dealt with, your relationships, your 7th house, you don't need that. You don't need somebody who's going to be like pushing you and fighting with you. You need somebody who's going to be nice, who's gonna just get along. And not only that, but maybe somebody who inspires you to also just get along, not be so conflictive all the time, not be on guard at all times. It reminds me of, is it the 9 of Wands, the one with the guy who's like just defensive and ready to fight? In your relationships, you don't need that at all. You need somebody who's going to be nice to you and make you feel comfortable and just feel like everything is good, everything is like Venus, everything's peachy, and you don't need to fight. Somebody easygoing like Libra. So somebody who will cool you off. Also, you're out there and you're heated all the time, rising Aries. You're heated all the time. So you need to come home to your partner and somebody's going to be like, namaste, like just pray, like te persina, like somebody who's gonna be like, everything's gonna be okay, you need to calm down, let's do some deep breaths, like somebody who could, you know, center you and bring you back down to earth because you're up here. And what else do you need? Maybe even somebody who can do a graceful thing when you can. You know, a lot of being in a partnership is having characteristics that balance each other out. So maybe you're like a rude jerk and you don't know how to apologize. And you should probably apologize for yourself, but maybe you have a partner that is really good at apologizing, or really good at speaking to people, or really good at mediating discussions or arguments with your family or anyone. You want a partner like that who can maybe either teach you how to do those things yourself, inspire you to do them, or maybe just do them for you. Maybe they're going to be your diplomat who's going to go out there into the world and make amends whenever you make a mess, rising Aries. Another thing that you need in relationships is somebody who's going to let you lead without a fight. You don't have to fight them, you don't have to scream, you don't have none of that. Somebody who's just going to let you lead, somebody who is more passive than you are and is comfortable with letting you take the lead. And lastly, you need somebody who's going to create balance, harmony, and beauty in your home and around you, because your daily environment, your 1st house, how you see the world, is really aggressive, and you see people as being very aggressive, and you see the wrongs that you have to right. Well, your home should not be like that. Your home should be peaceful. I feel like everyone's gonna be like, Denise, everyone's home should be peaceful. Now I'm gonna talk about the rising Aries example, and it was really difficult for me to find somebody that I liked. Let's look at her chart and why she is the way that she is. So Mars in Libra is ruling her ascendant, right? So I think this is really beautiful and interesting because she seems very much to be a gender rights advocate, an activist. So she's also an activist an advocate for sexual assault survivors, and she's vocal about social and political issues, which is, you know, it's very on par with Mars and Libra ruling the ascendant. She has a mix of that masculine and feminine energy channeled there in her ascendant and in her whole life, essentially. If you look at her chart, she also has a lot of 8th house planets. So she has 3 planets in the 8th house. So I like to think of the 8th house as a place for people that experience difficult things and traumatic things, that go through intense situations in life that not your average person goes through. So Brie Larson, I'm not saying that she's been through that, but definitely she has Venus there, and Venus rules her Mars and her Sun. So she is pulling that Libra, 7th house Libra energy into that 8th house, and that brings light to the 8th house. So this could be one of the reasons why she speaks out in defense of people who are sexual assault survivors. So this is why also she's actively out there speaking about these things, because, you know, that Mars rules her whole chart, but that Mars is being ruled by that Venus in the 8th house, and she has other planets there. That Scorpio moon is in the 8th house too. So that energy is being mixed with the 7th house, and it's leading back to her ascendant. So that is the ascendant is your personality. That's what you're putting out there on the daily. And lastly, it was difficult to find a lot of information about her, and my friend was like, you're not going to find anything about her, she's a Scorpio moon. And yes, Scorpio moon people are very private, and it's my favorite moon placement. So there wasn't a lot to find, but apparently her parents were homeopathic chiropractors, and they ran a practice together. So her parents are healers. Look at her 4th house. She has a 4th house in Cancer with Jupiter and Chiron there, and nothing screams more to me of a healer than having 4th house Cancer energy. Like if you have Cancer in the 4th house and you have Jupiter exalted there, that to me seems very healing. And with Chiron there, that's the wounded healer. So she has a lot of healer energy in her 4th house. So I think that really symbolizes her childhood and how she grew up. And also, it's very likely that with Jupiter in the 4th house, she had parents that were very supportive of her endeavors. And when I was reading about her, it said that her mother and her father, they separated, but her mom moved to LA with very little money just so that Brie could really go out there and do her acting career. When she was 9 years old, imagine your parents doing that for you when you're 9 years old. That is definitely one of the things that made her successful. And not only this, but also her rising Aries. So I'm sure she was vocal about what she wanted, and she really went after the things that she wanted. So because of that and that supportive home environment, I think that really contributed to her success. And lastly, she has Uranus at 0 degrees conjunct her midheaven. So she really is a huge rebel out there in the public sphere. Look at that, how close it is to her midheaven. When you have a planet on the cardinal signs at 0 degrees, that planet becomes very important to your life. Really, that Uranus conjunct the midheaven is a lot of what gives her that really rebellious persona that she is known for. And I honestly don't know too much about Brie Larson. I loved her movie Unicorn Store. I absolutely love it. That is such a Pisces Neptune movie. But she is really known for being an advocate for women actors and for demanding equal pay and for changing the whole aesthetic of the female superhero. I feel weird saying female superhero, but yeah, the girl superheroes. And she is so vocal about that, and she becomes jarring and annoying to people. I honestly, that was like the first I ever heard of her. Now that I see her chart, I understand her much better, and I probably won't have the same reaction to her. Now I know that she has a mission, and this is her life mission. The midheaven is so important when you talk about your life mission and what really is your life's work, what you're here to do. And I know the North Node is a huge part of that as well. Where's her North Node? Oh yeah, her North Node is in the 11th house. So she's connecting all of this to, you know, society at large. And her midheaven has Saturn there, has Neptune there, but the closest planet really is Uranus. So she needs to be seen as a rebel, and these breaking down social structures, Capricorn, social structures. So she needs to be the one to break down these social structures. It's very important to her. It's a really important part of her life's calling and her life's work. I honestly don't watch a lot of superhero movies anyway, so I really didn't have a strong opinion, and I shouldn't have a strong opinion because I don't watch those movies. I'm really the type of person who's just like, you don't have to have an opinion on everything. Have an opinion about the things that matter to you and know why they matter to you. And superhero movies aren't that big on my radar. I really don't care. Do I care about women's issues? Yes, but I focus on the things that I'm most interested in. So that's the video for today, guys. I hope that you liked it. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. I put out astrology videos every single week, and I will see you in the next one.